Good afternoon to all of our dedicated advocates, leaders, legislators, and most importantly, the directly impacted individuals whose experiences drive this movement. Reentry is, at its core, a human rights issue. My name is Ken Edwards. I'm the manager for leadership and organizing with the Center for Employment Opportunities. We are unified today by a crucial, critical truth. Everyone returning home from incarceration deserves a genuine and fair opportunity to succeed. The Reentry Assistance Bill is not just legislation. It is a vital step towards restoring dignity, ensuring stability, and enhancing public safety in our communities. Upon release, thousands face an immediate crisis: zero income, limited transportation, and profound housing insecurity. We fundamentally undermine the goal of rehabilitation if we withhold essential reentry support. Let it be clear today, immediate assistance is not a handout. It is a critical, intelligent investment. It is proven to reduce recidivism, strengthen families, accelerate economic mobility, and ultimately make our communities safer. When individuals are stable, they can secure employment, care for their loved ones, and become contributing members of society. This bill is clear alignment of our policies with our shared principles. If we genuinely believe in second chances, guess what? We must fund second chances. If we believe in accountability, we must continuously guarantee opportunities. Today is a call for us all to act. We must elevate the powerful voices of lived experiences of those who have navigated these systemic barriers, ensuring their stories resonate deeply with lawmakers. Your advocacy is the true engine for change. Reentry support is absolutely essential. Together, let us champion this bill forward, guaranteeing that when people return home, they are met with stability, opportunity, and hope. And with that, I want to call to the podium our Senate sponsor, Mr. Cooney.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate you all being here today. And I think we owe you a big round of applause and thank you to you, because this type of legislation, the legislation that we're looking to pass, would not come about without community support, because it's your voices and the people in your lives who you're representing here today that helps push all of us in the State House to recognize that we have a problem and we got to do something about it. So a big thank you to the Center for Employment Opportunities and all of our advocates for joining us. Incarceration without rehabilitation is not only a missed opportunity, it's negligent and it's wrong. And a failure to address and reintegrate incarcerated individuals back into our community has been happening across the state of New York for far too long. But rehabilitation can not only occur inside the prison walls, it's also an ongoing process that needs to continue outside of the prison walls as well. And that's why we need to pass the Reentry Assistance Bill. Nearly 50% of formerly incarcerated individuals face housing instability. Let me say it again. Half of the people who are leaving our prison, our correctional facilities, face housing instability. That means they don't know where they're going to sleep that night. More than 33% struggle to find part-time employment, and around 50% are reincarcerated within 3 years of relief. What does that say to me? We have a broken system and we have a problem. Now we have to find a solution to fix that problem. It's been reported that within the first 72 hours after the release, these are the most critical hours and minutes. Why should we not be doing more to ensure that these 72 hours are a success for the individual who is now reintegrating into our communities. With a small investment, we can make an immeasurable impact on these individuals' lives, providing resources for stable housing, for clothing, for food, and saving taxpayers money in the long term by reducing recidivism. So, all these folks that we talk about in our communities and we hear about in the news who talk about crime and they're worried about more victims being hurt. You want to save them? You want to help them? Then invest in systems that we know work. Give people the financial tools to be able to safely reintegrate within their families, to become productive members of our communities, to stop the cycle of recidivism. This will help keep New Yorkers safe. It shows dignity and respect for every type of New Yorker. And again, we have the power to do something about that. This is not aspirational. This is common sense. Now, I am very proud to sponsor this bill in the New York Senate, and I'm proud to work with my partners in the State Assembly to help get this over the finish line this year. So I want to say thank you again to CEO for being an amazing advocate. Thank you to all of you for showing up here, for giving faces and names and voices to this issue. When we work together, we get things done. But what's the expression that we always say? Closed mouths don't get fed. So our mouths are open, and we're ready to get fed. Thank you. Appreciate you.
So let's give one big round of applause to Senator Cooney for sponsoring the bill. So as we hear from legislators, we will also hear from people that have been directly impacted by receiving $40 when they came home, $200. So we want to make sure that their voices are heard at the podium, as well as those that are sponsoring the bill. So the first person up that I'm going to call to the podium is Yami from the Center for Employment Opportunities.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
So my name is Jami Vasquez, and I currently work for Center for Employment Opportunities as an outreach specialist. I support individuals who are coming home from incarceration, and not only from a professional standpoint, but a personal experiences. I am directly impacted by the judicial system, and I understand the challenges of reentry firsthand. My first week home was a period of transitional filled with uncertainty. I lived in Connecticut, and I had to depend on family and friends that I had not spoken to in years to have a place to sleep. I couch surfed and went from home to home. While they welcomed me at first, staying with others came with limits and sometimes unspoken expectations. Being a guest can only last but so long, and constantly felt like I owed them a favor. The financial strain was real. The cost to move around and contribute to a household and meet basic expectations. I became anxious. I felt like a burden to others. As a mother, the hardest part was to watch my daughter struggle financially because she was trying to help me. She was dismissing her own needs and her own responsibilities to support me. I felt ashamed, and I felt like I felt hurt once again. She shouldn't have to take care of me, but she did. When the Center for Employment Opportunities provided me with cash assistance through the Returning Citizen Stimulus Program, for 3 months, it was life-changing. The support allowed me to relieve the financial pressure I had placed on my family, my daughter. When I received that check, I was able to give back to my daughter. It didn't equal everything to everything she had done for me, but more importantly, it restored some sense of dignity. The Returning Citizen Stimulus gave me a space to heal financially. Financial pressure creates tension, argument, distance, and resentment. The assistance allowed me to focus in rebuilding my life instead of making decisions out of desperation. I was able to think clearly, make thoughtful, calculated choices, and secure employment. The funds covered the necessities like food, transportation, and seasonal attire. It allowed me to contribute to my own expenses instead of relying entirely on my loved ones. It helped me rebuild relationships and provide stability during the most uncertain time of my life. From both my personal and professional perspective, I know the positive impact that the cash assistance has on returning citizens. New York Reentry Assistance builds on stability, restores dignity, strengthens family, and gives us an opportunity to rebuild, not just to survive. Thank you for your time.
Before I call up the next speaker, can I get a raise the gate one time?
Raise the gate!
One more time.
Raise the gate!
The next speaker that I'm calling to the podium is the Senior Advocacy Campaign Strategist at Fines and Fees Justice Center, Mr. Darrell Fraser.
Thank you, my brother. Good afternoon, everyone. It is a total privilege to stand here with you all today. I am amazed by all the energy and just the individuals who showed up today. I've watched you all conduct your meetings, talk to folks, show up and show out, and that's what we really need. My name is Darrell Fraser. Once again, I am the Senior Advocacy and Campaign Strategist for the Fines and Fees Justice Center. I am also a nonprofit leader within the No Price on Justice Coalition, where we are united under one belief, that our justice system should not trap people in debt because of their inability to pay. And for food for thought for some of you all, before I did this work professionally, I actually lived what a lot of us have already experienced by being a directly impacted individual. I've also had the opportunity, to continuously show up in multiple states and in a way that provides community to individuals who have been impacted by a lot of the stories and the things that we hear about today. I've also seen people choose between having to pay bills, having to choose between whether or not they're going to be able to have housing. I've seen people have to choose between transportation and whether or not they will be able to get to work that day. Between keeping up with a payment plan and keeping the lights on within their house, which thousands of New Yorkers are actually experiencing right now. Some are in your community, some are in your districts as well. And here's what it makes it worse. When someone walks out of prison, New York hands them $200 and expects them to be able to rebuild their lives in one of the most expensive states, which is New York State. And on top of that, they've already been carrying the weight of fines and fees that had piled up while they had been incarcerated. That's not a fresh start, that is a setup for failure. That's why we're here today in support of the Reentry Assistance Advocacy Day, along with the rest of the coalition members who are working to pass a bill that would not only provide a monthly stipend, but also up to $2,550 in short-term cash support for people who are coming home from incarceration. We know that this works. The Return to Citizen stimulus reduced parole violations by over 41% in the first 6 months. And this bill is just a start to, if we really want to invest in supporting individuals who are returning home from incarceration. So again, thank you all for having me today. Really appreciate it. And thank you once again.
The next person I'm calling to the podium is doing a lot of great work in New York City around construction and making affordable opportunities for individuals justice impacted. The next person is Infinite George that I'm going to call to the podium.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Infinite George. I'm from Greater New York, Leicester, and I'm proud to stand here today for many reasons. As a justice impacted youth and young adult myself, I understand firsthand what it is to come home and try to rebuild your life from scratch with the bare minimum. However, in essence, it's a setup. How can one survive with $200 gate fee, if that? If he or she attempts to go look for work every day, half of the $200 is gone on car fare. This is not including food or shelter, which is a driving force of recidivism. The pressure to survive in one of the most expensive states in the country simply should not exist. What it costs to incarcerate an individual, it would be cheaper just to help that person re-enter into society by giving them the necessary tools to succeed upon release. This is why the Reentry Assistance Bill is much needed. It will combat crimes some people may commit within 48 hours of release, directly impacting the quality of life of elders and women across the state and marginalized communities. These are not crimes of passion, they are crimes of survival. Furthermore, the ones that are lucky enough to have some support often end up working construction because it's one of the few industries willing to give individuals with felonies employment. However, this is often comes with a vulnerability, having to accept a slave wage and unsafe working conditions. Because a person is desperate to make ends meet, bad employers know and prey on this disability. The Reentry Assistance Bill will help stop this cycle by giving people basic support they need when they come home. We give them a real chance to stabilize, find honest work, and contribute to their communities. When workers aren't forced to survive at any cost, not only can they stand up for themselves, this is what makes communities stronger. Formerly incarcerated individuals become productive members of society, and I want all of you standing here to ask yourself today, did you do everything in your power to change this cycle? Every way possible. I want you to plead to Albany to pass the Reentry Bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Infinite. The next person I'm going to call up to the podium is Lukey Forbes, ED. We are revolutionary.
Hello, everyone. It's an honor to stand here with so many formerly incarcerated individuals stepping into their power and utilizing their voices to call for change. As someone who went through the juvenile system and aged out and went through the adult system, when I was released from prison, both of my parents have passed while I was incarcerated. I did 7 years incarcerated altogether from 15 to about 24 years old. When I was released, I was forced into the Albany mission with $40. If for those of you who do not know, the Albany mission during their intake process, they have you sleep on the floor for the first couple of days. As someone who was a juvenile when going in and an adult when getting out, that type of struggle and mindset just made it so hard to finally get my footing. But when I did, I started to work with so many young people in my communities who also experienced a different type of trauma from the criminal justice system. Not only were they able to see their parents get snatched away from them and miss so much crucial time of their development, when those parents are released, it's as if they're still not present because they are unable to be present because of the financial burdens placed on them. We're not being realistic as to the systems that are created that cause trauma. I just appreciate the Senate sponsor of this bill acknowledging the broken systems, but they're not just broken systems. These systems are working in a way that they do something. They cause trauma within our communities. They cause trauma within the families. $40 is not enough to help a family member returning back into society. $200 is not enough. $2,600 broken up among 6 months is still not enough, but it is a start towards the right direction. So as someone who is directly impacted, I'm not speaking to you from theory. I'm not speaking to you from the data that just makes sense and is clear that this is needed. I'm speaking as someone who went through economic struggle, who re-entered back into society with even greater economic struggle, trying to navigate through that economic struggle with a parole officer who only wants to send me back. We need to make sure that we're showing up for all of our constituents, especially those most marginalized. After this body has passed laws like clean slate, bills like this are no-brainers. This should be a nonpartisan, people-centered bill, family-centered bill, justice-centered bill. Again, I just commend all the formerly incarcerated people here that are speaking their truth and explaining to the legislators this issue, and I hope that we have the moral compass within our legislative body to pass this bill. Thank you, everybody.
That was like a mic drop, but we're going to continue going on. Next person up I'm going to call is Cheryl Morris from the Law Enforcement Action Partnership and former Deputy Superintendent of Programs. Cheryl.
Good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Cheryl Morris, and I come to this conversation with more than 3 decades of experience inside the corrections system. I served 30 years with New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision. My experience was gained from working in minimum, medium, and maximum security prisons, as well as in central office. During my time as Director of Ministerial Family and Volunteer Services, I drafted policies statewide, worked collaboratively with community partners, main office leadership, facility administrators, and service providers to develop and oversee reentry and family reunification initiatives designed to strengthen support systems for individuals returning home. Later, as Deputy Superintendent of Programs at 2 maximum security prisons, I oversaw all aspects of programming for incarcerated individuals, policy implementation, and staff operations. Today, I continue this work through violence reduction initiatives and corrections consulting, focused on building stronger pathways for incarceration back into our communities. Over the decades, I witnessed something very important. People do not return to prison simply because they were once incarcerated. Too often, they return because the system sends them home without the stability, resources, and support necessary to rebuild lives. When someone walks out of a correctional facility, that moment is not the end of a sentence, it's the beginning of critical transition. Housing, employment, transportation, identification, and access to services all determine whether a person can stabilize or whether they pivot back to survival mode. This is why policies like the Reentry Assistance Bill, sponsored by Senator Cooney and Assemblymember Gibbs, are so important. This legislation establishes a reentry assistance fund for docs to provide modest financial support during the most vulnerable period after release. Under the bill, individuals who were incarcerated for at least 6 months in New York State are released to the community and would automatically receive the initial payment, as well, followed by monthly payments for up to 6 months. There's no This fund would be supported through $25 million appropriation to docs from the general fund, representing approximately 0.8% of the department's entire budget. This is not a handout, it's a stability measure during a high-risk transition period. When someone leaves prison with nothing, no transportation, no money, no identification, no resources for basic needs, the risk of instability increases immediately. A modest level of financial stability during those first months can make the difference between someone successfully reconnecting with family, securing employment, accessing services, or falling back into survival behaviors that often lead to recidivism. And this brings us to another important question that should be asked. What about the safety of correctional staff, and why aren't we investing more in their protection? The truth is, the goal of policies like the Reentry Assistance Bill is to make everyone safer. When we invest in solution-based policies that reduce recidivism, we ultimately reduce the prison population over time. That has real implications for the safety and well-being of staff. Prison employees across the state are working in extremely difficult environments. Many facilities are facing severe staffing shortages, increasing pressures on those who remain. Those conditions contribute to burnout, stress, and a workplace culture that can become deeply toxic and traumatic. Reducing the number of people cycling repeatedly through the system helps relieve some of that pressure. It can help stabilize facilities, reduce overcrowding, and begin to address the workforce strain that correctional staff are experiencing. In that sense, policies like the Reentry Assistance Bill are not only about supporting people returning home, they're also about supporting the safety, wellness, and working conditions of the employees. When fewer people return to prison, the system becomes safer for everyone inside of it. Economic stability is one of the most powerful tools we have to reduce recidivism. When people can work, support families, and reconnect with their communities, the likelihood of cycling back into the justice system drops significantly. That benefits everyone: families, neighborhoods, law enforcement, correctional staff, and taxpayers alike. Let's be clear, this is not about politics, it's about practical solutions. Those of us who have worked in corrections, law enforcement, community organizations, and victim services understand that lasting safety comes from both accountability and opportunity. When we create meaningful pathways for people to succeed after incarceration, we strengthen public safety and community stability. The Reentry Assistance Bill represents an investment in that future. It recognizes that when people return home, they deserve a real chance to rebuild, and our communities deserve the stability that comes when that rebuilding succeeds. Today, we stand together as advocates, public safety professionals, policymakers, and community members with a shared goal: safer communities, stronger families, and a system that works not only to hold people accountable, but also to help move them forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. And our next speaker, it is an honor to introduce him as the first New York State justice-impacted legislator elected to office and holding down East Harlem. I want to bring to the podium Assemblymember Eddie Gibbs.
Yes. How's everybody doing today?
Great.
Oh man, I estimate about 112 of us here. How everybody doing today?
Great.
Yeah, let them hear us. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Assemblymember Edward Gibbs, representing East Harlem, the 68th Assembly District. Make some noise for East Harlem. I'm excited to be back here with this crew to call on leadership to pass the Reentry Assistance Program Bill. We're spending a lot of time talking about affordability right now, but formerly incarcerated people were completely left out of the budget. When someone is released, they get $200 and a bus ticket. $200 is all you get to restart your life. That's why we need the Reentry Assistance Program. We need to give people a real chance at reentry, and that starts with making sure that they have enough to meet their basic needs in their first few months out. I want to thank you to everyone here. I'm telling our legislators, my colleagues on both sides, let's get it done. It's important. People's lives are at stake here. In order to eliminate the revolving door syndrome, in order to eliminate recidivism, we must give these individuals an opportunity to get their lives together coming out of the gate. And this is why it's important that we must pass this legislation to do just that. So these wonderful individuals coming home, reuniting with their families, reuniting with their communities, reuniting with workforce, reuniting with their neighbors. Let's give them an opportunity by passing this legislation and giving them an opportunity to have a productive life in our community, in our society. I want to thank my co-sponsor. I don't know if he's here today. I want to thank all the organizations pushing this legislation. Let's get it done, Albany. Thank you.
I know he started out by saying there's like 100 people here, but we want to give Assemblymember Edward Gibbs, our sponsor on the Assembly side, another round of applause. Next up, we're going to be calling, he's not Michael Jordan, but his name is MJ, coming all the way from Rochester. Give MJ Rochester a hand.
Hello, everybody. My name is MJ. I am a participant and advocate for the Center of Employment Opportunities based out of Rochester. I am currently the lead technician for a mobile technology startup based out of California and an aspiring creative design engineer. I am also a previously incarcerated individual, to which I was incarcerated for nearly 10 years. And when I was finally released last March, I was released back into society with absolutely nothing. Because presently, when an individual is released from incarceration in New York State, that person is supposed to receive aid in the form of a bus ticket back to their city, their home city, and a small amount of pocket change never to exceed more than $200. But due to deficiencies in the way the current system dispenses that aid, I, as well as many others that I've spoken to, never even received that little bit of aid. So at this point, years had gone by, family and friends had all moved on and faded away, as does with time. People, places, and things had all changed, and I, like many others, were released back into society alone with nothing. No phone, no clothes, no car, no home, no money. The only thing I had to my name upon my release was a record of conviction that would effectively preclude me from being able to enter nearly 50% of the American workforce, ultimately leading me to the harsh realization that as an individual recently released from incarceration, we have to put in 10 times the effort just to get our initial footing back into society. Because as I saw firsthand, the majority of employers tend to hire prospects with a consistent work history, and because those of us who are incarcerated were precluded from developing that work history, we incarcerated individuals are immediately disadvantaged when it comes to acquiring a steady, gainful source of income. So we are, we're lacking in things such as basic needs such as soap, toothbrushes, toothpaste, deodorant, shampoo, combs, brushes, razors, slacks, dress shirt, and shoes. And we need these things because, like I said, we have to work 10 times harder. We have to appear 10 times more clean cut in a professional environment because we have this negative connotation to our name. So with that, we need these things to fund the foundation, basically, for us to step foot into society with our head held high and to stay focused on a positive, on a positive mindset and a positive outlook for our lives. I'm MJ. Thank you. Thank you. I'm MJ. Please support the Reentry Assistance Bill. Thank you very much.
So on behalf of the New York State Reentry Coalition, we continue to call on legislators in New York State to pass the Reentry Assistance Bill. We would like to thank everyone in attendance today. If you are here and you want to shout out your organization, now is the time to do it. Raise the gate! Raise the gate! Raise the gate! Raise the gate! Thank you, everyone, today.